Hello everybody and welcome back to another React video. Today we're going to be watching another Talkative Try video. I'm not trying to follow his channel with my reacts or anything. It's just there's a lot of PoE stuff going on, and you either get really long 40-minute episodes, especially because of the video that dropped yesterday as of the day of this recording from the developers, or you get these short little 10-minute things, and he's the only one who has one that kind of aligns with what I'm kind of thinking about right now, especially because in this video he's talking about the various melee builds he's thinking of considering. Now, I had already kind of decided that I was going to do a duelist build, and then when I was looking up the available builds, I had already pretty much settled on Lacerate Gladiator, but it's in his list, and that's kind of what made me decide, hey, let's do a video on this and do a react to it. So let's go ahead and watch the video, and I'll chime in whenever I think of something to say.
It's a melee league. It's a melee league.
Why is he dancing around like a jackass?
Oh, yeah. Moana Exiles, welcome to another Path of Exile 1 video. With the release of the patch notes for 3.25 Settlers of Kalguur, nothing is certain besides one thing. And that's the fact that melee will be king in this league, and the balance is bound to be absolutely whack.
Now, I have to say that when the lead up to, I've said it more than once, I don't have a lot of experience with Path of Exile. I've only been in it a month or so. So, I don't have a lot of experience with the way things were in the past, but given the little bit that I do know and the fact that Path of Exile 2, the beta is coming out really soon, it felt like they were really trying to make this a big deal as a lead-in into, kind of not sunsetting the game, but just making it so that we had a nice capstone at the end of PoE 1, and then it kind of goes into a maintenance mode kind of thing where the game is still running, they're still doing things with the game, but it's not really the focus anymore. And, as a transition into Path of Exile 2. If you watch the patch, if you watch the 3.25 video update from the developers, that really doesn't seem to be the case. It really seems like they're trying to run two major games parallel to each other and basically just offering two different versions of the same thing to appeal to different audiences. And with the way, you look at all the different features and the complete revamp to the game, this is not sunsetting. This is definitely a 100% complete, going all in on Path of Exile 1 and going all in on Path of Exile 2. It doesn't seem like they're sunsetting anything. It seems like they're trying to reboot Path of Exile 1 to not compete with itself, but basically be another competitor in their arsenal against Blizzard and the other ARPG games. So I'm very surprised at all the different things that they brought out. And, even with my limited knowledge of the game, the number of things and the big changes that they've made is just very obvious. And it makes it very clear that Path of Exile 1's not going anywhere.
While my League Starter video, which is always unhinged, won't be out until probably later this weekend or early next week, I knew I had to release a video talking about my early thoughts on what you and I should League start in this absolute insane league. One thing's for certain, I'm going to have a fun and interesting League start unlike any before, because I will be playing hardcore for the first time ever on stream. And I will be going melee.
I will be trying to live stream my grind through the campaign story mode, because I want to give you guys, those of you who for whatever reason have an interest in my specific channel and my style of presentation and all that stuff, I appreciate you. And I just, for those of you who want to follow my grind through the campaign mode into Settlers of Kalguur, I'll be doing live streams. They won't be scheduled. They'll just be sometime in the starting sometime in the late afternoon, early evening. Right after it starts, until I get up to level, until I finish through the campaign and start doing maps and start getting into all that stuff. So I'm not locking down a schedule or anything like that. I don't do that. Live streaming isn't the focus of my channel. I'm just doing it because I'm going to be grinding the content anyway, so I might as well put it online. So keep on the lookout for that. There's going to be everybody's going to be live streaming / recording / all of this stuff, just because this is a massive update and all the big channels are going to be doing it. I have no expectation that I'm going to really meaningfully compete with them in any way for anybody's attention. So I'm not expecting anything. If you show up, you show up. Not that big of it. That's another reason I'm not going to block out time in my schedule to do it. It's just I know I'm not competitive yet. I'm not a big enough channel to be to be stealing enough of attention away for it to be worth locking down part of my life.
and I have a few builds cooking right now in the oven, and I'd like to talk about them today with you all. After reading the patch
Number
notes,
one was the
these are
one I had
ones
already
that
kind of
I think
decided
are
I'm
most
going to do,
interesting.
because I haven't done
We're gonna go in them in order
duelist
and look
build
at the
yet.
patch notes and see exactly why I think these 5 builds might be among my league starters and stuff I will include in next week's Absolutely Unhinged video. Those are Bleed, Lacerate, Gladiator, Cleave of Rage, Berserker, a throwback to Affliction League, Boneshatter Slayer, the classic, Elemental Hit Warden, the newbie on the block, and
Now I am looking, I'm hoping, I'm not sure how the updates work when it comes to the standard league. I do have a Boneshatter Juggernaut that I am currently leveling. He's a level 72 right now, going through the maps and all of that stuff in the standard league. I'm curious to know if the updates that they're going to do all the melee stuff is going to transfer over to the standard league as well, and if my guy is going to become like uber powerful because of all the buffs that they're doing to all the melee stuff. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that all shakes out.
Sunder Chieftain, which might be the most busted build of the league thus far, if you can go from the patch notes themselves and Captain Lance's very, very hype video that he put out earlier today. But let's talk about Bleed, Lacerate, Gladiator first. Gladiator was buffed tremendously. The entire Ascendancy was reworked. You can see it in the reveal trailer on screen right now. You can read it through the patch notes. It has a variety of new nodes that are absolutely ridiculous here. But the one that everyone is talking about is this one in particular. No, it's not the Weapon Master one. No, it's not the Bleed Explosion one. Nope. It is the War of Attrition Ascendancy passive skill.
I don't know enough about any of this to really make any kind of meaningful comment on it.
And unique enemies for each second they've been in your presence up to a maximum of 100%. That's 100% more damage after 100
I mean, that sounds impressive.
Seconds. Now, this doesn't matter if you have Shaper levels of DPS, Shapers per second levels of DPS, but for the typical melee build with high defense.
My disclaimer is that I don't have enough experience with this game to know all the tiny little mechanics and stuff and all the references that they make. So I'm still at the point where I rely on pre-made builds from other people to be able to create effective characters. So the stuff that he's saying right now, I have no idea what all any of that even means. If you have time, let me know in the comments if I say I don't understand something, let me know in the comments what it means, because I don't know.
Fences that,
and I'd rather you tell me so that I get some channel engagement
to bring down a pinnacle boss. This is insane. This is ridiculous, and this is almost solely. It
helps out my channel when you guys leave comments.
Consider going a Bleed, Lacerate, Gladiator on league start. That and the fact that some of these new nodes here, like Determined Survivor and Measured Retaliation, in conjunction with some of the new retaliation skills that I want to try out, if I use a sword and a shield on a gladiator, will I ever die? I don't think I'll ever die. And I'm playing hardcore. So this is something that I am definitely considering upon league start.
Now I have to say the current build for Lacerate Gladiator, at least over on the PoE vault where I found where I typically get my builds from, it has an axe and a shield, and I really want to find a way to do sword and shield because that's just the classical. I'm very much a stereotype kind of person. I really like playing the stereotypical roles, and running around with a shield and axe doesn't really satisfy quite as much as a big sword and a shield, or preferably 2 swords or something like that. I think that would be kind of cool.
Start. The second one is Cleave of Rage Berserker, and that's because
I've never used Cleave before.
Was completely redone this patch. You can see that it's mentioned 111 times in the patch notes itself, and the Berserker Ascendancy was changed drastically here to do with Rage, but the actual init benefits of Rage have completely shifted around. You can see it's this yellow bubble right here. Oh my goodness gracious. Essentially, Rage is much stronger and far more reliable, and it's easier to build up this Cleave of Rage Berserker than it was before. I'm super excited to try this out.
I think that's a good thing, so that you can play, the typical archetypal
the most
barbarian
powerful character I've ever had before in Path of Exile, and I'd love to play him again, just in a stronger manner, a more reliable manner. Because the thing with Cleave of Rage in Affliction League was that it relied on that which was taken, and the Rage and Warcry charms, which are no longer in the game. But with all these changes to Rage and Cleave of Rage,
I absolutely have no idea what any of that is.
I might be trying, and the only thing that might be dissuading me is the survivability here. Because I don't think that a Cleave of Rage Berserker is that good of an idea to play in a hardcore league. Maybe I'm crazy. Let me know.
I have to say, I'm a traditional Dungeons and Dragons guy, and the idea of barbarian the idea of a barbarian style class not being very survivable is just kind of foreign and alien to me, because you get the half damage on rage kind of thing. So I know that Dungeons and Dragons doesn't shift over to Path of Exile. I get it. It's just it feels weird to me that you would have a berserker that is squishy. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. If he's raging, he should be able to really take a lot of damage before he goes down. And it just seems counterintuitive to me to have a berserker, barbarian, whatever word you want to use, style class, and have it not be something that's able to sponge a lot of damage.
Should I play berserker in hardcore, or should I go with something like the good old Boneshatter Slayer?
If you want your playthrough to last for any length of time, you're going to want to go with something tanky.
I think it's going to be doing 2 or 3 times more damage with all the melee weapon changes, with all the melee skill gem buffs, and you're more defensively powerful.
Yeah.
And if you go Slayer, your leech is already insane on a Slayer, and now we have Val Pact back to the way.
I have to say that my Boneshatter Juggernaut is super satisfying. Anytime you pop in there and you have a big group of monsters and you do one slam and they all just kind of go that's I love just watching groups of monsters just fall down with one mighty swing of my axe. Super satisfying.
It used to be. I mean, you have to be melee, of course, but we're going to be
more satisfying than my Fire Chieftain.
So I think right now, Boneshatter Slayer, or maybe even Boneshatter Juggernaut with those crazy endurance charge changes, might be one of the best starters you can go with, but it's also one of the most lame. Because Boneshatter has already been one of the most powerful melee skills.
Yeah, like I said, I already have one now. It's why I'm not thinking about it for this league.
It's time to go on a bit of a journey. Maybe it's time to try something entirely new. And that, of course, is the Elemental Hit Warden. I think this might be...
Now, if you didn't catch the update video from the developer, this is a new class that I believe is replacing the Raider Ascendancy class. So none of us really knows anything about this. Even experienced players don't really know anything about this, because this used to be the Raider for the Archer class. I forget what the hell you call it, the Ranger. Is it a Ranger? I don't remember. Whatever the bow main class is in the game. I've only played it once, and I do not have a main character or a leveled up character for that, so I don't remember. Anyways, the Warden replaces that, so it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that ends up morphing into whatever builds happen later on. Elemental Hit Warden seems like people are already working on it.
One of the coolest builds of the league. The Warden is a brand new Ascendancy class that is coming out with PoE 3.25. It's replacing...
I couldn't remember if he mentioned it or not.
The Raider.
I should have assumed that he did,
but it is focused around
redundant content.
What is Elemental Hit?
I try not to do that.
It's a bunch of elemental damage in melee. We, of course, would be using it in melee. But with some of these crazy nodes right here, like Oath of Spring, Avatar of the Wilds, which is a buff that can give you 80% more LE damage and have something like 60% uptime. This is going to be ridiculous. Oath of Winter too. Enemies you freeze remain frozen for at least 2 seconds. Hits that fail to freeze due to insufficient freeze duration inflict Hoarfrost. And Hoarfrost is ridiculous.
Come the jokes. I see you can't hear Hoarfrost
without... This
without
patch is going to be so imba.
A million jokes popping up in your mind.
It's going to be like a crazy
Yes, I am childish.
Seriously,
Sorry.
That's the vibes I'm getting from this particular patch. And remember, bosses as well had the way that they are frozen, changed right here. Pinnacle bosses, Shaper Guardians, and Elder Guardians can now have up to 50% action speed reduction, previously 30%. That's a 20% increase, so freeze is going to be more powerful on these bosses than ever before.
I haven't really done much with freeze-related abilities.
The only reason I might not is because I really want to make sure I'm defensively powerful. And I'm not sure how defensive a Warden might be, especially on League Star. I might just want to go the brain dead approach with a shield and a sword on a bleed last.
That's the approach I'm going. I want it to be easy, especially the first time around. I don't want to be struggling with it.
If I want to go big, if I want to bonk massively, I would suggest you look into a Sunder Chieftain. Okay, you might be thinking, Chieftain, slams. Isn't that so 2022, 2021, maybe even before that? Why in the world would you go a slam build on a Chieftain and not something like a Berserker or even a Juggernaut or a Champion? Why would you go on Chieftain? Well, there's one simple reason here, everybody.
I'm going to tell you now, Sunder is one of my favorite abilities. There's just something super there's just something super satisfying about watching the earth just go boom, 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 and watching the enemies just go ah. Like, Sunder is just one of those awesome abilities, and especially because of how far it goes out. A lot of the builds or I don't know a lot of the builds, but a couple of the builds that I was looking at for my Marauders moving into whatever ascendancies had you going with, I think the Boneshatter one had you starting out with Sunder once you got to that point, and then you're supposed to move up into, I think, Earth or Quake or something like that. And I was like, no, I like Sunder better. I'm just going to stick with Sunder because I like that it just goes across the screen. It's very satisfying and it's very powerful. And I felt like switching to some of the other abilities that were out there just did not serve me as well as just sticking with Sunder. I don't know why.
That's because, once again, Chieftain has gone through an overhaul here in the form of this particular node. The Arangui, Moon's Presence Ascendancy passive skill has been replaced with the new Scion, Sun's Roar Ascendancy passive skill, which provides war cries have infinite power and 30% increased war cry buff effect.
I've never done much. I've never done anything with war cries, so I don't really understand that.
I believe that was only on Red Blade Banner, and that massively buffs war cries. And with all the different
I've heard the term before, and I've heard that you can use it with certain things to make your character powerful, but I don't know anything about it.
Easier to sustain. Having this and being able to
combo it with
a big two-handed weapon is tremendous. And it's going to allow you to build a slammer that will be remembered in leagues to come. Seriously, I think this might be a little broken. I think Grinding Your Games is ready for some of these melee builds to be absolutely busted on launch.
I'm a big fan of busted builds. I mean,
what we're going to see.
It's more fun.
We're going to see a lot of.
I know a lot of people really like challenge. I really like that. I really like the philosophy of this game where they're just like, you become so overpowered that you just demolish everything. And I really like that aspect of games. I really like feeling like I'm just overpowered and nothing can stand against me. But it's personal preference.
Busted builds win PoE 3.25 releases, but you know what? It's going to be fun. And that's what I'm really looking forward to. And I agree.
I think it's fun.
They're just going all out. They're saying, F it. Let's change up the meta. Let's shake everything up. People have been asking for something super drastic for a long time. Let's just go in, do it, and see what happens. And maybe it lasts for a few leagues. Maybe the balance is whack for a while. And if that's the case, well, so be it. At least they went in with some wild changes and they just embraced the madness.
They're taking the SpaceX approach to doing all of this stuff. They're like, you know what? We could theory craft this stuff and hope that it all works out. But how about we just throw the spaghetti at the wall and just see what sticks? And that's really a good way to go, especially if you have a community who is open to trying things and open to trying to do different things and being okay if something doesn't turn out. Because the developer has shown that they're willing to listen to the community, make changes based off of community feedback, and the player base trusts them to do the right thing. So they have a lot more leeway to try things out and try to do different things because they've established a certain level of trust with their community. That's a really good thing for them.
That seems to be the design
allows them to try a lot of different
stuff. The game director on Path of Exile 1 right now, Mark Roberts, and I am all here for it right now. It might come with some wild balance changes necessary in the first 2 weeks or even mid-league.
anything with this much change in it is always going to have to require some tweaking.
Is more than worth it. So everybody, leave a comment below. What are you thinking about League starting right now? I couldn't put it in me to let out a video today on the best 5 League starters or the most wicked 5 League starters because I'm still mulling it all over. I'm still reading through the patch notes. I'm still reading people's analyses of this. Soon it'll come out. And I think 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 of these will be in that list. And yes, it's almost all melee. Isn't that insane to think about? Melee League starters being viable. What kind of timeline are we living in right now?
I mean, that is something that I've noticed of most of the builds that are out there, even for, you know, what you would traditionally think of as melee classes, always end up relying on some kind of spell or, you know, melee spell or something like that ability that, like the biggest disappointment I have is the rogue and the fact that I can't get a viable, I haven't been able to find a viable dual wielding dagger build for my for the shadow. That is something that can compete with, say, the Blade Vortex build or something like that. So, you know, I'm kind of hoping somebody will come up with that. Somebody will figure out a way to make that work. But who knows? But it's really cool that they're really focusing on shifting the balance away from it having to be spells, and now you can actually have some viable, real melee and not like melee stuff that looks like spell things or whatever. You know, I'm really looking forward to seeing that stuff. I'm definitely leaning towards the Lacerate Gladiator because I haven't done a duelist yet. I haven't leveled a duelist yet, and B, I like the idea of bleeding everybody to death. So that sounds really cool to me.
The best one. I seriously think it's the best one, and I cannot wait for League launch next week. So Exiles, if you liked the video, make sure to hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel for more Path of Exile 1 and 2 content. And make sure you watch all my upcoming videos on this League, which will be hitting day after day after.
I will have a link to his channel in the description, and be sure to go over there, leave him a like and all that cool stuff. Same for me. Leave suggestions for videos that you would like for me to cover. I do bring my own perspective on the various things that people are talking about, and it may not be the norm because I don't necessarily involve myself in a lot of discussions and stuff like that. So ideally, I have a fresh perspective. All that being said, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the content. Be sure to come back for the next video, and I'll see you then.